I did want to ask you about another genius who recently made transition, Prince.
Yeah.
I know you had opportunities to work with him.
Yeah.
How did you guys first become acquainted?
I was playing a show called, playing a club rather, called the Level One in Beverly Hills, California. It's not the Level One anymore. It's called something else now. It's a sports bar. But there was a young promoter that asked me to do a show for him. Brother named Tory Crow. I'll never forget. And I think I was his first promoter he had ever. I was the first artist rather that he had ever booked. Y'all gotta forgive me because I've been running for the last 5-6 days from Poland to Baltimore to New York to here. So bear with me a minute. But Tory reached out to me, and I think I was the first act he had ever booked. He had ever booked or promoted. And it was the three of us. It was a trio. Me, my buddy Raymond McKinley, who was working for Sheila E., and Rochelle Farrell playing bass, and a female drummer named Cora Coleman, who I had just took under my wing for the last 2 years prior, taking her out of the country. And, she's an incredible drummer. And Raymond walks up to me right after sound check and says, "Y'all forgive me. The Little Purple guy might come and hang out tonight." And I said, "Wait a minute. When the words little and purple are in the same sentence, you can only be talking about one guy, and it's Prince." He said, "Yeah. He's looking for something to get into tonight." So I told Sheila to tell him to come down and check you out. And I was like, "Okay, cool." Obviously, Sheila E. relayed the message because he showed up. He and Rochelle Farrell, it was the same night I met Rochelle for the first time because they were hanging out and they came to my show. So in between sets, they had me go to this really dark room and sit down and rap with him. And then I invited Cora and Raymond. Raymond went off and got something to eat, but Cora and I walked in and I got to talking with him and we were chilling. And he said he wanted to just do some jamming together. I was with it. I said, well, I want to be able to bring my band. And that's how it happened. So Cora and I and Cora's now husband, Josh, we would all go up and we would just be jamming. And just jamming turned into playing all the house parties, like the Grammy after parties he would do, the Oscars, NAACP Awards, which I was honored to be on the 36th annual NAACP Awards. When you check it out, there's a bald-headed, light-skinned guy sitting at a Fender Rhodes piano with all this white stuff around it. That's me. A lot of people probably don't know that, but that's me. We had a good time, man. We wouldn't start in that house, the 3121 house. We wouldn't start till 1 in the morning. We would get out at 6 or 7. And I tell you, I remember playing one night, and I was too tired to take that heavy Fender Rhodes out of the house. And I told him, I'll come back and get it later. And every time I would call to get my piano, they would say, well, Prince wants to be here when you come to get the piano. And I said, okay, well, what's he doing tomorrow? Well, he's not in town. Can you come Saturday? No, I can't come Saturday. I got a show. And that happened for almost a year. I just gave up. I'll never see that piano again.
Wait, so I wasn't where 3121 was an address?
3121 was the address to the house. He turned around and made like a good, what's the word? Words escape me. What's the word when you take something and you make a business out of it pretty much? Everything he touched turned into a business thing. What's the word I'm looking for? Purple, he made a big business thing out of that, The 3121 thing, that was the address to the house that we were playing in. Carlos Boozer was his name, the NBA star, written in the house. 3121, I think that was the house, 3121 Deer something. And he took 3121 and he turned it into something big. It was the address to the crib.
So I imagine you spent a lot of intimate moments with him just talking?
We did. We talked about a few things. Most of it was music. Most of the time it was music. Yeah, most of the time it was music. I didn't want to get too deep with him. I didn't want him to think that I was just another person trying to get something from him. In fact, I had to make him respect me in that manner. I played once or twice with him and told him I didn't want his money. And sometimes, as bad as I needed that money too as an indie artist, because I literally do everything myself: management, booking, record my own records, and I sell them directly to the people. There is no machine behind me. I am the machine. So for me to tell Prince he can keep them 5 figures, and they were high 5 figures, to earn my respect, but I could use that money with 2 young kids at the time. But at the end of the day, I got that respect.
So you did a lot of jams with him. Did you tour?
No, I did everything behind the scenes with him. Everything was behind the scenes with Prince with me. Everything was behind the scenes. We never went on the road. The only thing public I did with him, in front of cameras or with anything big, was just the NAACP Awards. But the more intimate performances, I think if I had a choice between the two, it would have been nice to be out there with him. But the more intimate time, 7 people in the house and we're playing for 7, 8 hours in the middle of the night, that's priceless, buddy. That's priceless.
So there's a lot of there are fans watching, but a lot of musicians are watching. You know, what is it that you want people to know about Prince? What as an artist, as a musician, as a human being, what's the most important thing?
What could I verify about Prince, basically? He was a great businessman when it came down to taking care of his business. I have to say that. I don't know about the will and all of that, but when it came down to handling business with me, it was right. I was never late getting paid. He was never late paying me. He paid me right, paid me more than what I asked for. Yeah, he did. And when I demanded my respect, he gave it to me. Prince was a person just like you and me. We could sit down and rap over dinner. He treated me like a recording artist and not just another musician. You know, I came in meeting him as a musician, but I was still the lead in where I was. I didn't have the name then that I've grown to have now. But he treated me like a person. He treated me like a recording artist. I respected the fact that he could take pretty much anything and he could sell it. And I will go on record and say that Prince is the reason that I became an independent recording artist. He endorsed it. I had just put out my 3rd record, Straight from the Vault, and he saw my wife and me actually pressing CDs during rehearsal. So I was rehearsing, and there was another office right attached to the rehearsal room we were in. And my wife was in there with a duplicator burning CDs. And on the breaks, I would go in there and help her. And Prince walked in behind us and just looked over our shoulders and said, "What are you guys doing?" I said, "Man, I'm running a family business. I hope you don't mind. I know this is your time, but if I don't do this, I don't eat." And he was like, okay. Walked out the room. Later on that night, because we had a show we were rehearsing for at his house that night, we get to the house that night, and he asked to see the package that we were working on. But I was working on 2 CDs at the same time. I showed him Straight from the Vault, and then I showed him the CD that I just recorded. It was the 1995 bootleg, because somebody had taken a record that I did for Motown that wasn't supposed to be released. And they burnt my CD, and they were selling it in the UK for 25 pounds. And at the time, 25 pounds was $50 US. This record had Branford Marsalis on it, Billy Preston, Harvey Mason, Doc Powell, Tony Maiden, Freddie Washington, the bass player who wrote Forget Me Nots, and You Remind Me with Cheese Rush. And I had a lot of people on this record, and he was selling my record. So I took back what was rightfully mine, my music, ordered a copy from the thief anonymously, and made that my master. And I started duplicating it, but I put some integrity with it. I made my own cover. It's a white CD cover with a skinny leg inside of a construction boot. The construction boot represented the fact that the man was working hard, but the skinny leg represented the fact that he wasn't eating from his work. And I explained it to Prince when I gave it to him, and he stood in his dining room and screamed. He said, "Man, you don't need nobody. As long as you can keep pressing this up and getting it to the people, you don't need nobody else. It'll come. Everything you need will come for you." He was the one that encouraged me, standing in his dining room, to go independent. And here I am, about 12 years later, doing it. Hey, this is soul jazz recording artist Frank McComb, and you are watching Reelblack.
It became quite disingenuous for America to say to a segment of its population, the marginalized, oppressed black folk, "We need your help to fight a war for democracy," when black folk were not experiencing democracy in America.
They run the banks in New York. Puerto Rico was a country. They came here 150 years ago, and they ran their own bank. So they came here as bankers and started marrying white women and producing white bankers. And white bankers, 90% of your banks in New York is run by. That's why as much money and power, you can't get a Puerto Rican mayor, because them crackers ain't gonna let it happen.